I found out my parents left everything to my cousin, after I spent 10 years taking care of them. For 10 years, I was the one who stayed. While everyone else in my family built lives far away, started careers, traveled, had kids. I was the one who stayed behind. I put my life on hold. I was there when Dad had his first stroke. I was there when Mom broke her hip. I was there during the surgeries, the bad nights, the long silences. I cooked, cleaned, drove them to appointments, and made sure the bills were paid. They said, "You're our rock, our boy, our pride." I believed them. And then I found the will. But let me start from the beginning. I'm 34 now. I was 24 when Dad had his first stroke. I had just finished university with a degree in graphic design, had plans to move to Austin with some friends and start a career. Then one call changed everything. "Your father collapsed," Mom said, her voice trembling. "It's bad." I came home immediately. What was supposed to be a week of support turned into a decade of sacrifice. My friends moved on without me. I said no to job offers, to travel, to dating. My life became hospitals, therapy appointments, blood pressure machines, adult diapers, and managing two aging parents who were too proud to admit they were falling apart. My older brother, Eric, visited once a year, around the holidays, with expensive wine and his smug tech industry salary. My sister, Jane, called occasionally from Florida, always too busy with her 3 kids. The only one who came more than once a year was my cousin Alex, and not because he cared, but because he had an eye on the house. Alex is my mom's sister's son. He's always been around, like an annoying shadow. He's charming on the surface, but beneath it, he's manipulative and greedy. Even when we were kids, he'd take things that weren't his, lie without blinking, and somehow still get praised for it. Still, I never imagined he'd take everything. When Mom passed, it wasn't unexpected. She'd been declining steadily for months. Dad was already gone, he died 2 years earlier in his sleep. Peacefully. I sat beside her for her last breaths. After the funeral, I was alone in the house. My siblings had flown in, stayed 2 days, and disappeared again. I began sorting through their things. Clothes, letters, old photos. It was hard. It felt like tearing open memories with every drawer. That's when I found the envelope. It was taped under a drawer in Dad's desk. Inside was a letter and a copy of the will, notarized and official. And just like that, everything shattered. In short, they left the house, the land, the savings account, over $130,000, all the valuables, to Alex. Not to me. Not even split with my siblings. To Alex. The letter read. "He's the future of the family. He's responsible, successful, and we know he'll honor our legacy." I reread it 5 times. I was the one who took care of them. I was the one who fed them, changed them, stayed up with them during panic attacks, helped them to the bathroom, handled their medical bills. I cleaned up their blood, sweat, and tears. I watched their bodies fail and their minds fade. Where was Alex? Turns out, he was sweet-talking them. Playing the long game. He visited once every couple of months, brought them small gifts, told them what they wanted to hear, that I was wasting my potential, that I'd trap them in guilt, and that he'd be the one to honor their wishes. He even got them to sign a new will while I was at the pharmacy one day. I lost it. I called Eric and Jane. Eric cursed for 10 minutes straight. Jane cried and apologized, saying she always suspected Mom liked Alex more, but didn't think it would go this far. I confronted Alex. He laughed. "Man, it's not personal," he said. "They wanted someone to preserve the property, maybe turn it into something valuable. You were just the nurse." That word hit me like a punch. Just the nurse. I tried contesting the will. I spoke to a lawyer. He said it would be hard, the will was recent, properly signed, and my parents were of sound mind. And I had no written proof of coercion or manipulation. The lawyer even said, "You might win. But it'll drain you. Emotionally, financially. Is it worth it?" I didn't know what to do. 10 years of my life. 10 years gone. I felt used. Tossed aside. Like a disposable helper, not a son. So here I am now. Still living in the house, for now. Alex gave me until the end of the summer to move out. Says he won't charge rent because he's not a monster. The same house I repaired, painted, and cared for. The same house where I held my father's hand as he died. The same house where I sang lullabies to my mother when she forgot my name. Soon, it'll belong to Alex. He plans to rent it out or maybe sell it for condos. I don't know why I'm posting this. Maybe just to say. Be careful who your parents listen to. Maybe to scream into the void that love and sacrifice don't always get rewarded. Maybe just to let go of 10 years of pain. I don't want pity. I want peace. And maybe, someday, justice, even if it never comes in the form of money or property. Sometimes, family isn't who shares your blood. It's who shows up. And I did. I showed up. Every damn day. And in the end, they left everything to someone who only showed up with a smile and an agenda. They left everything to my cousin. But now I'm finally fighting back. Part 2, Revenge, Realizations, and the Fire That Sparked Everything. 3 weeks after I made the original post, I was gone from the house. It didn't feel like leaving a home, it felt like being exiled. I left behind the bed I bought, the couch I spent nights on when Dad couldn't sleep, the garden I planted with Mom, the smell of coffee and medicine, and the weight of years that clung to every wall. Alex stood in the driveway as I pulled away, arms crossed like a landlord watching a late tenant leave. Not a single thank you. Not even fake sympathy. Just a cold, satisfied smirk. I moved into a friend's basement, a guy I hadn't spoken to much since college. He offered me a cheap room and no judgment. I cried the first night. I didn't know if it was sadness or relief. I slept for 14 hours straight. First time in years I didn't wake up to check someone's breathing. I started to write. I filled notebooks with everything I'd held in for a decade. The lies. The bitterness. The things I saw my cousin do when no one was looking, the money he borrowed from Mom's wallet, the times he whispered poison into their ears about me, the time I caught him going through my dad's safe while pretending to help organize papers. I should have said something back then. But when you're a caregiver, you learn to suppress yourself. To keep peace. To avoid conflict. Not anymore. A few days later, I got a call from my sister Jane. She sounded tense. "Have you seen the Zillow listing?" she asked. "What listing?" "Your house. Mom and Dad's. Alex put it up for sale yesterday. Listed at almost $600,000. It felt like a punch to the gut. A home that had once echoed with my parents' laughter, with bedtime stories and Sunday dinners, now just another commodity on the market. I stared at the photos. He had it professionally staged. My furniture was gone. He'd painted over Mom's favorite blue kitchen wall. Replaced the rose bushes. Everything looked shiny and fake. Then I noticed something odd in one of the listing photos, a corner of the attic door left slightly open. I knew what was up there. There was a box in the attic. A plain old banker's box, taped shut for years. Inside were notebooks, letters, receipts, and recordings, a sort of living diary my mother had kept when she first started getting sick. She never talked about it much, but I knew it was her way of holding on to herself. Documenting her slow slide into forgetfulness. Her fears. Her hopes for me. And maybe, her doubts about Alex. One night, a year before she died, she told me, if anything ever happens, don't let people tell you who you were to me. You know who you were. You were the good son. I never fully understood that until now. I called Jane again. Asked her if she had a copy of that old power of attorney document from before the new will. She did. It named me. Then she sent me something else, a voicemail Mom had left her 2 years before her death. In it, she said something that made my stomach twist. Alex is pressuring us. Keeps bringing these papers. I don't know if I should sign. But he makes your father feel guilty. He keeps saying that Dan will just waste it all. That he's not a real man if he lets Dan live off us. I'm tired, Janie. I don't want to fight anymore. I played that voicemail 10 times. My hands were shaking. With Jane's help, I hired a new attorney. This time, I came armed with more than emotions. I had records. Texts. Witnesses. The voicemail. The original power of attorney. Old journals. Financial inconsistencies. Signatures that didn't quite match. Medication logs that showed my parents were under heavy doses the week the new will was signed. The lawyer's tone changed. This isn't just unethical. It might be criminal. A month later, we filed a petition to contest the will. Alex was served while showing the house to a potential buyer. Jane was there too. She flew in without telling him. She said the look on his face was priceless. He called me the next day. You think you're clever, he snapped. You're going to waste years on this and still walk away with nothing. I replied calmly, even if I lose, I'll drag your name through every courtroom and make sure everyone knows who you are. He hung up. We subpoenaed documents. Found inconsistencies in their bank accounts. Discovered a few donations Alex made, to himself, in the months before Dad died. Jane even remembered that he once brought a notary to the house without explaining why, while Mom was doped up after a procedure. When you dig, you find dirt. But the most shocking discovery? My parents had drafted a will leaving everything to me, 5 years earlier. The lawyer who helped write it still had a copy. Alex had pressured them into revoking it, using guilt, manipulation, and threats of abandoning them if they didn't do the right thing. That opened the door for a claim of undue influence. The legal battle dragged for 8 months. I almost gave up more than once. I drained most of my savings. I lost sleep. I felt like I was grieving all over again, not just the loss of my parents, but the betrayal that came with it. But something kept me going. Maybe it was Mom's voice on that voicemail. Maybe it was the look on Dad's face the last time he said, "You're a good son." Maybe it was just the years I lost, the decade I gave, and the justice I needed to reclaim. We didn't get everything. But we got enough. A judge ruled that the new will was compromised by undue influence. The original will from 5 years ago was reinstated. I got the house. The savings were split 3 ways, me, Eric, and Jane. Alex walked away with nothing. He tried to appeal. He lost. The judge even ordered him to pay some of my legal fees. I moved back into the house a few weeks ago. It feels different now. Emptier. Quieter. But it also feels mine. I repainted the kitchen wall blue again. Planted new roses. Hung up a photo of Mom and Dad in the living room, one from before everything fell apart. Before the sickness. Before the lies. I sit on the porch some evenings and just breathe. For the first time in years, I'm not a caregiver. I'm not a victim. I'm not invisible. I'm healing. And I'm rebuilding, not just a house, but myself. If you're reading this and you're in a similar place, taking care of people who may never say thank you, who might even forget what you did for them, I see you. And if someone tries to rewrite your worth with lies and manipulation, don't let them. Sometimes, it's not just about getting revenge. It's about reclaiming your story. And this? This is mine. It had been 3 peaceful months since I reclaimed the house. I was learning how to live again. I started freelancing. Went on actual walks. Had my first real date in 5 years. Some nights I'd sit in my dad's recliner with a book and think, maybe I'm finally okay. That illusion shattered on a rainy Thursday morning. I was pouring coffee when I heard a knock. Loud. Repetitive. Urgent. I opened the door, and there he was. Alex. Drenched. Furious. Holding a folder in one hand and rage in his eyes. "What do you want?" I asked. "You think this is over?" he snapped, stepping forward. "You think you won?" I didn't answer. Just leaned against the doorframe. "I gave them everything," he hissed. "I was building something with this property. And you threw it all away." "I threw it away." I laughed bitterly. "You stole it. Lied. Manipulated them when they were vulnerable." He shoved the folder into my chest. "Read that. You'll see who the real thief is." Then he turned and walked down the steps, got in his car, and drove off. Inside the folder was a stack of papers, legal documents, emails, and one letter addressed to me in Mom's handwriting. I sat down slowly. The documents were shocking. Apparently, just months before Mom died, she and Dad had taken out a reverse mortgage on the house, something I never knew. It was supposed to help cover care costs. Alex told them it was smart estate planning. But it wasn't just a mortgage. It was predatory. And now, the company wanted repayment, or the property. Which meant I might lose the house after all. And Mom's letter? It explained that Alex had arranged the deal, told them not to worry, and promised he'd take care of it later. Of course, he never did. I called the mortgage company. Explained everything. Sent death certificates. Legal rulings. Asked for options. They didn't care. Said the only way to avoid foreclosure was to pay back the full amount, nearly $180,000, or sell the property. I was devastated. After everything, the care, the fight in court, reclaiming what was mine, it still wasn't over. Alex had poisoned the roots so deeply that even winning didn't feel like peace. But this time, I refused to let him win again. I hired a real estate attorney. Got every document reviewed. Dug into the mortgage terms and found something interesting: the company violated disclosure laws. A clause buried in fine print proved they hadn't properly informed my parents of the repayment conditions. That gave us leverage. We negotiated hard. In the end, they agreed to settle for a reduced payment, $94,000. Still steep. But doable with the inheritance I'd received after the court ruling. I emptied the savings account Mom left. It felt like bleeding. But it bought me freedom. I wired the payment. Received confirmation. The house, finally, was truly mine. No more threats. No more court dates. No more Alex. Or so I thought. He showed up again 2 weeks later. But this time, he wasn't angry. He was desperate. He looked thinner. Pale. Nervous. Eyes twitching like someone who hadn't slept in days. "I need your help," he said, voice cracking. I didn't respond. I messed up. I owe people. I thought I could flip the house, pay them back, make everything clean. But now, I'm in too deep. You think I care? I said quietly. I was family, he whispered. No, I said. I was family. You were a snake who wore a smile. He sank onto the steps. I'm going to lose everything. I wanted to feel satisfaction. I wanted to enjoy his downfall. But instead, I just felt nothing. 10 years of bitterness had burned me out. There was no joy left to feel. Only exhaustion. I'm not saving you, I said. And I'm not playing your games anymore. He didn't answer. Just stared at the rain dripping from the gutter. After 10 silent minutes, he got up and walked away. No drama. No threats. Just defeat. Weeks passed. I didn't hear from him again. Later, Jane told me he moved out of state. Apparently he was sued by 2 other people for fraud. Good. But I didn't follow the case. For once, I didn't need to know. I started renovating the house. Room by room, I erased the pain and replaced it with something new. Lighter walls. Brighter windows. Plants. Music. Eric visited for the first time in years. He brought his wife. We had dinner in the dining room where Dad used to sit and tell stories. We laughed more than I expected. Jane came next. We cried in the garden, kneeling by Mom's old roses. She said, "You saved them. And yourself. Maybe. Maybe not. But at least I stopped letting them destroy me." Sometimes, at night, I walk through the hall and hear echoes, the creak of Dad's walker, the smell of Mom's perfume, her favorite song playing from the radio. I don't hate them anymore. They were human. Flawed. Easily influenced. Tired. They made mistakes. But they also gave me life. And somehow, through all of this, they gave me the strength to stand up when it mattered. This is the last part of my story. No cliffhangers. No revenge plot. Just closure. And that's more than I ever expected. If you're reading this, to everyone who helped me, messaged me, shared similar stories, thank you. We don't always get the family we deserve. But we can become the person we were meant to be, even after betrayal. Especially after